like a boss.
Hi guys, Dredile, creator of A Day in Crab Lab here from the Run, Think, Shoot, Live Bossville competition. I figured I would run through my entry and just show you guys a little of my thought process, what went into the creation of this map. This will help with people who aren't proficient in mapping. If you are proficient in mapping, well, just look at this beautiful mug as we walk through it, and I have some interesting details that maybe you haven't picked up on. We can all learn from each other. This is a collaborative effort, if it were. So I'm gonna let the intro play for just a moment, and then I'll start breaking it down, okay?
Well, you don't need me to tell you there's no going back, Tempt. You're the only surviving rebel-elect to make it into the experimentation sector of the facility. Remember the objective. Something in there is big, alive, and dangerous. The Combine has been experimenting on it. We need to neutralize the threat, then get the hell out of there. Over and out.
All right, so first things first, kudos to all the other people who entered the competition. It was very fun. Now that we're actually in the level, you'll notice that it started out with a little bit of monologue. You're basically a rebel-elect, you're storming a facility, and you got separated. You're the only person to have made it into the experimentation sector. So I wanted to lay down a little bit of foundational story to get you into it, since that's what levels are about, that's what games are about, is immersing the player in something believable. Another part of immersion is the detailing. Now that is some nice little detail. It makes a world believable. You'll notice that none of the geometry is too out there. It's not too busy, and it's also not too basic and boring and bland. You know, there's lighting going on here that points the player in the direction he needs to go. Very obvious. Crowbar, vent. Can't go through here. You notice the facility's kind of out of whack. But we got the player immersed and into the game, into the environment. He knows that there's something that we need to neutralize and take out. So there we go. Surprise attack. Can't get me. I'm the fucking developer, eh? If you haven't downloaded this, go to runthinkshootlive.com. I'll include the link in the description. Planet Phillip puts this on. It's a fantastic source mapping competition that they'll put on like once every month or two, and it's really keeping the source community alive. So, zombie storms, little scripted sequence, kind of interesting there. You fall through, and suddenly you're in a lab room, hence experimentation sector of the facility. There's little goodies up here in the cupboard, which rewards exploration, and you'll notice that everything makes sense within the environment. Before I went out and before I went and made this map, rather, I actually walked around my town just to reroute myself. Of course, I don't do this all the time. I only do this occasionally to give myself that extra spark in my thought process. Sometimes I'll walk around and come up with a new idea for the map. And just by walking through an environment, looking at the way geometry is placed naturally by humans in the real fucking world, as opposed to a Google image reference, really helps root me and sort of ground me in a way that, you know, a reference photo I found on Photo Bucket from a frickin' sugar factory somewhere in Nebraska doesn't. Because you can get locked into sort of a mindset when making levels of just, you know, you're so in the spiral of being in your room looking at a monitor that you forget what it is actually like to see objects laid out in the real world like this. Just like a little counter, everything spaced well, rotated well. Be very prop aware when making your levels. Prop awareness, is that a new social trend? Jeebus Louibus. This guy's getting cooked. And this whole room serves as a puzzle. Right now the player is attracted to this lever. There's light shining on this barrel right here. The player pulls the lever. Boom, a barrel explodes. You see, like, oh shit, they can't go in there, so they turn it off. And hopefully, if the player is smart enough, after maybe 20, 30 seconds, it might take them a minute, they might not get it right away, but they'll realize that barrel plus water equals explosion. So it's a visual reference there. That I tried to make as obvious as you can. And let's say you didn't notice that for whatever reason. Maybe you bent over when you pulled the lever and you picked up like a piece of gum on the floor. And oh, wow, it just happened. Come over here, the lighting draws the player's attention, and it's broken. It's not in good shape. Admittance to authorized personnel only. You can see through it, so it's obvious that the player needs to get through there. So if you tie everything together, barrel plus electricity plus door equals kablamo! And you're into the next scene. So I'm still laying out the premise of the map at this point. Now here's where I'm laying a little bit of clues. It's a head, okay? So I'm building up a premise here. Now that's obviously a head crab. It's a head. That must be the main bad guy. Interesting. Holy shit! Combine attack. So a little bit of gunplay here. I suck at playing my own level, forgive me. Forgive me for sucking hard. Don't quote me on that, jeez. But you get grenades in this area. It's an interesting little hallway. Turret. And if you're not an idiot like me, you can actually fucking blow it up. Good gatos. That's Spanish for cat. Okay, there. Some interesting details. So you're getting into some more combine turf. It's obviously a repurposed human constructed building, and then the combine have taken over, and you can see that the combine are kind of building into it the farther you go along, which is what I was trying to convey. Some more goodies hidden here, some health, and the lighting again guides the player from cool to red. So very obvious direction here. Little barricade that they set up. And here's what I was really building up to. So, oh, there was another little, oh, I guess it's not. Where'd it go? Maybe there's an error in the mod, but there's supposed to be another little decal here similar to this. It's a head. Regardless, I've been building up a premise, and if I had more time to work on this level, I would have built it up better. But I was building up the premise that something was coming right now. Right now. And I am using a design element called bait and switch here. And if you really want to know what that is, watch next. So you think you're going to be fighting the boss soon. Remember that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, there's trouble. Ooh, dust puffs. Okay, so the people that I'm attacking that are my enemy are worried about a threat from the store. This has got to be big, right? This has got to be massive. This is the boss! Nope! It's me!
Hey, don't shoot! I'm friendly! I'm friendly! I'm a friendly crab here! Don't worry about it. I can tell you're not with the Combine. I know by the way you dress. You may be wondering why I can talk. They experimented on me. They feed me sardines. I'm sick of this shit. I tell you what, I'm not the main bad guy, but I know where he's at. He's another room over. How about I let you out, and we can go, you know, fuck his day up. How about that? And escape into the sunshine. Let me let you out. We'll get some lemonade. It'll be great.
Okay. Bait and switch. You think you're getting a result? I built up a premise and I tore it down. Interesting story mechanic there. I mean, obviously this is a really goofy premise, but it's effective. I mean, anyone that's played it so far, at least a majority of them that I've gotten feedback from, have laughed. They thought it was funny. You know, boom. You know, I completely took your view of what was about to happen and flipped it on top of itself. And you can use that in so many different ways, in serious ways, in comedic ways, anything. So now your crab is your ally, and he's going to help you take out the boss.
It's good to be free. Now, the one you're after, you think they've done experiments on me. It is nothing like what they've done on him. I don't like him. He gives me a bad vibe. I'm going to crawl through this vent over here. You climb up onto the platform above, and we'll be pretty close to his room.
Okay, so there's a bug there that Planet Phillip, the guy who made it, told me. It's kind of hard to hear the crab unless you're close. Kind of annoying. I wish I'd fixed that before the release. But some goodies in here if you explore. Interesting little visuals. And again, visually stimulating. Good detail, realistic detail. Interesting to look at. You know, nothing is boring about this map. That was my biggest drive, was that there's a rise, there's a climax, there's a falling action, and it's not boring. At no point are you confused, really, or bored.
About time you made it. All right, so listen. The one responsible for all this, he's in the next room. The one you're after. The way to take him out is I'm gonna have to hack into his inner shields. Stay in the control area, watch my back, and once the shields are down, we'll blow his freaking head off, all right?
All right, so a little bit of instruction there on what's to come. So the actual boss fight is coming. Just a little preparatory speech there, and this is the final prep area before you go into the boss. So I've given you pretty much everything you need to handle this. So let's cue the sequence. That trigger right there just began the master sequence. What's funny is there's actually an invisible citizen right there that the crab tries to attack, and that's how it leaps over the handrail. So cheap trick, a little trick there. And now the player can no longer return. So this is a crow's nest boss fight where you're stuck in a position and your goal is to protect the crab as he hacks through these doors.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun dun dun!
Okay, this is gonna take me a bit longer than I thought. I'm gonna begin the process of hacking into his inner shields. Grab some weapons, because he's gonna send his minions out. And you're gonna have to pop some heads off. Watch my back.
Pop some heads off. Alright, so cue the boss fight. The mechanics are this. You kill the minions, the boss has a power attack, and you try and survive all 3 waves. This is a wave battle. Very interesting to look at. Right inside the force field there is a stalker. And I have different combine spawners in each of these rooms. Some of them have different weapons. For instance, that one has an AR-2, more of a long-range weapon. You can see the crab is working on the door. Music pumps the player up. And then there's a side combine here just to flush the player out. So a concern I had during this entire sequence was that the player could simply hide like this, right? And he would never have to actually kill anybody. Well, there's a couple things I did to negate that. One is that combine that runs out from here. 2 are those man hacks. And then coming up very shortly here, you'll see my 3rd way of flushing the player out, which is the boss itself has a power laser attack, which is actually really interesting to set up. There's a lot of relays and logic going on. Here it is. So, I mean, let's say the player is just stuck right here. I mean,
that doesn't sound good. Watch out for his power attack.
I'm gonna save. Just in case. Boom. Okay, suddenly the cover's blown a bit, so it's not as easy. You know, I'm manipulating the environment, trying to keep you on your toes, even though you're in one spot. One Planet Phillip said that the battle is kind of limited in a sense, which I understand. So here they come to try and flush you out. If I had a bit more time, one of the playtesters mentioned I should have added a handrail going over here so that the combine could run across and actually swarm you, which would have been interesting. But sadly, didn't have enough time to do that. Here comes a combine and another. So I give you some health here. Here's another power attack, which flushes the player out. Notice how the laser goes all over the arena. So if you're stuck in that corner too, it gets you there. So I'm trying to keep in mind during this boss fight where the player might be positioned, what he might be trying to do, where he might be trying to hide. And I'm playing with that and screwing with him. Or lady. I don't know if a girl could be playing this. Unlikely though, but 3rd power attack. 2nd power attack. So this one takes that out, which is kind of a goofy thing. But if you happen to be standing there, you know, damage is done. That's the crab. He finished that 2nd door. So this is a cooperative effort. You're invested with the crab. He's made you laugh. You like him. He's funny. He's talking about how he got into that 1st layer. Boom. So I've made it to some extent, as much as I could with the amount of time you have in this map. It's a relatively short map. Part of you, somewhere deep down, in general, I think you kind of like the crab. And that's important for my next premise that I'm utilizing in this map, which you'll see in a minute. Got him! If I had more time, I would have done more lighting effects, I think, because I think lighting is very powerful, obviously. So I would have definitely added some more visual cues, I think. Oh god, this is gonna be close. I suck at playing my own map. I watched Planet Phillip play this and he barely even lost any health. I was like, what the hell? So that one hits right where the health charger is.
Pull the lever in your area. Pull the lever. Let's shoot him and end this.
Alright, so he says he's ready to pull the Master Shield down. You think everything's gonna go well. You pull it. Uh-oh.
Nice. You got some backup shields.
Backup shields.
Backup shields. There's only one way.
One way.
You're gonna have to pull the lever. I'm gonna have to jump in and self-detonate while the shield's flickering. It's the only way.
In case you couldn't hear that, good lord. In case you couldn't hear that, he's saying we has to pull down the shields because he's got a backup generator. If you really want to play through it and hear all the details, download it, please. But we essentially, our plan failed. He's gonna have to self-detonate and sacrifice himself. Oh no, not Krabby.
It was good being your friend. Sayonara.
No, Krabby! And the outro sequence. No! Oh, he dead. Rip Crab. But we did it. And the outro. Falling action. They say you gotta make do with what you got. Sometimes the mission works out unexpectedly because of an unexpected friend. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Friends. New friends. Dramatic monologues. I'm gonna give up the accent. Can't resist myself. New friends, I must say, it is a crab's life after all, isn't it? It's a crab's life. A background piano track made by me. All this was custom. Made it within 3 weeks. So as final thoughts, I guess, for it, there's a couple things I would have liked to have done better. I would have liked to have built up the premise that the crab was going to be the main enemy a bit longer. Really built that up and then really pulled that bait and switch and made it even more powerful. I think it still turned out okay, and people are laughing, so that's the good news. And overall, I think it turned out fun. And my goal was to make it fun. Maybe it's not the most unique boss fight of all time, but goddamn, my goal was to at least have you have a good time. Please go to the link in the description, download it, comment on Run, Think, Shoot, Live's YouTube channel. I'll link that in the description too. Tell them Dredile sent you, and just enjoy, because it was quite the process. My last video, I was talking about how I was like depressed. Well, this was an interesting endeavor to take on because, I was in a pretty bad spot for a little bit, and forcing myself to make this was really fun, getting back into development, creating something, producing something, and more than that, doing it effectively. Enjoys it. I hope you, if you're just watching it, hope you enjoyed my commentary. And as always, until next time.